In this video, I'll show you how to create a side pane in a model driven app using JavaScript. Now, what a side pane is? Now, in my previous video, I have already explained what a side pane is. Now, side pane is basically a component which appears on the side. Now, that side can be a left or a right side, but here in this example, as you see the Copilot icon. So if I click on Copilot icon, in next side pane appears over here, revealing more information about what a Copilot is, and then you can perform some operations over here just by typing the prompt. Now this is a side pane. Now we can close the side pane. We can perform various operations, and the side pane has a specific title as well. So if I close over here, I can see the Copilot icon. Now I have an option to create another side pane. So I can create multiple side panes over here. Now, in my previous example, what I've done is like I went into a specific record set. So if I go into one of the record set, watch what happens over here. It will load a side pane. Now it has already loaded one side pane, and it lists down all the airlines. Okay, so this is that same record set which were available when you clicked on airlines, and I can perform various operations. Now I have an option. I can minimize the site pane, and then I'll start operating on my record, or I can expand it and see some information before I make any amendments to the record. Now this content, this lists down all the items for a specific list. Now, in this case, the list is airlines. Airline has 16 records, and that's why I'm able to see this information. Now, in this example, I'm going to show you how to open a specific record set within a form. Now, example, if I go into, say, Singapore Airlines over here. Now here I want to have one side pane which will not show me all the list of airlines, but I will pass a specific ID and I will say I just want to see Cathay Pacific Airlines when I open Singapore Airlines in the form. Okay, so if you want to drill down to a specific record, how you can do that. Now let me show you the infrastructure on how I did this. So first what I did is I wrote a simple JavaScript which is xrm.app.sidepanes. I have taken this function, loaded this function in a model driven app. So I've already created a web resource. So if we go into the web resource, there is a web resource named as side pane. So side pane example. Now here I have copy pasted that code and went into the form, added that library. On the event load of this form, I can see this code being executed. Now for time being, what I will do, I will go into the JS over here. I will remove the code. So I don't want that side pane code to appear over here, right? And let me put something over here. So click on save and publish the JS. And once this form is loaded, I don't want this to appear. So for that, let me just refresh. So I'm just undoing whatever I did in my previous example. So now if you go inside a record, you don't see anything. Now it says one of the script for this record has caused an error, and yes, that's fine because the web resource method does not exist, and that's perfectly fine. I'm gonna fix that as well. Now why this error has happened? Because here we are specifying that in the event sitemap example is the event handler. I'll click on save and publish, and then this error should disappear. So let me do a hard refresh, and now as you see the form has been loaded and there is no error. Now let's go ahead and write a simple JavaScript. Now that JavaScript will be basically displaying the specific entity record. So what we want is if someone opens, say, only say specific records, say Singapore Airlines, okay, uh, I want Cathay Pacific to be shown over here, okay, as a record set. But and also like if you go into any other record, say Gulf Air, here also I want that Cathay Pacific record to be shown. Now, in order to do that, first we need to go into that specific record and grab the ID. Now this is important because we're going to render this. Okay. Now even if this record gets loaded, it will again show the same item. Now, in order to work on that, first let's go into the JS and then let me remove all this code and then let me write it again. Okay. So first thing, how to write a code. First, we need to go into xrm.app. So xrm.app.side panes dot create pane. So the first option operation we are going to perform is creating the side pane. Now here we need to specify the title. So the title of that side pane would be, say, Cathay Pacific, and I will put some word example. Okay, just to distinguish it. Image src, the icon which should be shown. I have already created a web resource, so I will just point to the web resources. So web resources, WR capital, and then you specify the internal name. So I will just say signal high, which is I have created a simple icon which shows the network basically. Then there is another options which we say, which we can see over here, which is called as hide header. Okay, so hide header is a boolean value. I will say hide header as false, and I will show in another example also how to uh, perform another operation with hide header. So pane id, this is the identifier. I will just call this as airline 001. This should be unique. So if you have multiple side pane, make sure that all the pane ids are unique, and whether you want to close that particular icon or the side pane or not. Yes, can close is true. And also we can specify one more thing. I can specify the width. So I can specify 300, 400, 600. Maybe let me put it as 600, and I can control that width as well. Now here we have created a side pane. Then we say dot. Then once that is, this is the configuration parameter which we have specified. We pass the pane and we put a arrow operator and we close the function. So this is the syntax. Now here we are passing the pane and then what operation we want to perform. So we'll just say pane dot navigate. So n is small, so pane dot navigate, and then we type the page type and entity name. So again, just like previous example, we just pass the object page type colon entity record. We want to show just one record, right? And what is the entity name? What is the name of the table? Now the name of my table is airlines, but we need to specify the internal name. So the internal name is gcop underscore airlines, and I will specify the entity id. So entity id, and which is, I think we just copied it. So this is the id of Cathay Pacific. So as you see over here, Cathay Pacific id A65 ending with BE. A65 ending with B. Now this is my code. Now let me do a formatting of this. Let me minimize a bit. Okay. How what are we trying to achieve over here? We have written a function. We are creating a side pane. We have passed in a parameter. Now I've added a couple of parameters like title, what the title should be, what should be the image source, whether we want to hide a header, whether what is the identifier of that pane, whether the pane can be closed, and what is the width of that particular pane. And then this is the main operation which we specify that I just want to only show entity record, just one record. Now in my previous example, I've shown you how to show the entity list, means it will show all the items within the list. I just want to specify one record, and we need to specify which record we want to show. And this is the code. So let me copy this and let me paste this in the JS. So let's go into the sitepin example JS, paste, save, and here on load of this form, I will say call the function. Now the function name is sitepin example. We are not passing execution context as the first parameter. Click on save and publish. Now here, as we see, airlines, list of airlines, go into say one of the records, say Singapore Airlines over here, and I am able to see that one record, and that record is Cathay Pacific. Now this will appear if I go into any other say airline. So if I go into any other airline over here, I can see that same side pane getting loaded. So let me go over here, go to Alaska, click here, I can see Cathay Pacific. Now there are a couple of parameters we passed, right? Now I'm not going to change the JavaScript and show you, but I will just do this in the browser. Now you can perform the same operation within the browser. Like if you want to have multiple side panes, you can run the same code again and again. Now for this, I'm showing Cathay Pacific, right? Now this one, this part, this part, okay. Now just watch over here. Now this is the title and this is can close, so I can close it, and this is the width, 600 width. Now I will play around with multiple things. So I'll play around with the title, I'll play around with the header, I will play around with this, and I will play around with the width as well. Okay, so let's go into the code and let's make this change. So Cathay Pacific example 2, and I will even make the icon different. So I have a signal of medium, okay, and I will say hide header false, so hide header true. Pane id, I need to change the pane id, so I'll make it airline 002. Can close, I'll make it false, and this time I will keep it as a reduced width, so let me call it as a 300. Now these are the parameters which I'm specifying. Now when you run this in a browser, don't use a function, just copy the only the core code, and now go into your browser, close this, close this. Let me go into the airlines, go into say specific airlines, and now I can see the pane over here. If I click on it, it gets minimized, expanded. uh, Go into the developer tools just by pressing F12, and now paste your code. So it is just info only, clear it, paste the code, press enter. Now you will see one more side pane created, but this time the width is small. Now as you see, this width is 300, this width was 600, right? Here we had an option to close the pane. Here we don't have an option because we haven't specified. Now here the example, if you see, this is Cathay Pacific and then this got cut, right? Now here it was showing perfectly is fine. Now here you don't see, so if you see over here, this header part, the command bar, like as you see this header part, this is all gone, right? This doesn't exist over here. So this is how you can play around with various parameters. So we have played with the title, we have played with image source, we have played with hide header, we have changed the pane id, can close as set as true and false. So those all things we have made the changes. Now as this form factor is reduced, now if you see over here, I'm just increasing it manually over here. Now as I showed to you, this one, this command bar appears over here right on the top. Now when I say hide header to be true, so if I go into the code, so F12, now here I'll just paste the code and show it to you what happened. So we have this title, we have this image source, so image source has changed over here, width has changed over here. Now if I want to create another side pane, I will need to just change the id. This time I'm gonna make it as say 700 as a width, and I will make this as 3, and then this one I will call this as, I have another icon, I will call this as signal low, and this is it. Now I can also change the value over here. Now if I just don't want Cathay Pacific to be shown, I want to show Monarch Airlines, I can copy the Monarch Airlines code and put it over here, and then I have this displayed. So If I just press enter now, this code gets executed. Now let me close this and let me go over here, go to the airlines, minimize this. And now if I go into say Singapore Airlines, if I click on the first one which we created, it will show me Cathay Pacific. Here it will show Cathay Pacific. Sorry, Monarch Airlines, the one which we created. This was the second one which we created. So if you see all the width and all, it is all different, right? And if you see the header area, it shows that header area. This one does not show the header area, and this one does not allow you to close. So this is how you basically can use creation of the site page. Now there are multiple use cases through which you can uh, perform this operation. Like in my case, if I am typing in some information against a form, so if I go into say one of the record, I want the specific record or the main important record to be shown over here. Now this need not be specific to this particular table. It can be from a contacts, it can be from an account, it can be from any other custom table. This as just as a reference point to show you one specific record. So this is showing one specific record, and it is not showing the entire list of record. Now if you want to show the entire list of record, I already have a piece of code uh, which I will just show you. So I'll just press F12 again and I will paste it. Now here the only difference is the page type is entity list and you specify the table name. And once you are ready with that, just press enter. And now we have a list of airlines. So this one, this side pane shows list of airlines. This side pane shows only one item within the side pane. This again shows one item. This again shows that one item. So you have an option to play around with the side pane using this particular piece of code. So that's it, folks. Thanks for watching.